Hello, welcome to the first episode of Encyclopedia Kara, the AP US Government Study Expansion Pack. Today I will teach you all about Congress. If for some reason you're taking the US government test but don't know what Congress is, it is the bicameral legislative body of the United States government. Legislative just means it makes the laws, so if there's a law, it came from Congress. Bicameral means it has two houses or two parts. Bi always means two. Bipedal, bisexual, bipolar, bicameral. See, it all makes sense. It was created in 1789 and was intended to be the direct link between the people and the government. Because you don't directly vote for the president, you don't decide who the Supreme Court justices are, but you do vote for your representatives. Actually, you didn't vote for senators directly until 1913, but you did always vote for the representatives in the House of Representatives. I will explain more about the differences between those two later. Alright, so as I said before, there's two bodies to Congress. There's what's considered the upper body, the Senate, and the lower body, the House of Representatives. And it's not really that big of a difference. It's not like freshmen compared to seniors, but I guess it's like juniors compared to seniors in terms of prestige or whatever. The House of Representatives has 435 members, and it's not a set number which state has however many. It changes every 10 years. Hopefully your brain just connected. Oh, what else happens every 10 years? We have a census. That's right. The census isn't just for funsies. The government isn't, tracking you for its secret purposes. It wants to distribute the representatives fairly, so areas with more population have more representatives. Therefore, the representation is more fair. See how they do that? Isn't that nice? Okay. So to run for the House, the requirements really aren't that strict. You only have to be 25 years old. You only have to have been a citizen for 7 years, and you have to be from the state that you're representing. I mean, let's face it, you're not really seeing 25-year-old representatives, but it's nice that, in about 10 years I could run. The Senate, on the other hand, has only 100 members, and there's 2 for each state. That is a very strictly established number, and if you do a quick little math, 100 divided by 2, that does in fact equal 50. So it's fair. The reason for that is at the time that Congress was formed, a couple of the founding fathers said, oh, let's base it on population, let's be fair here. And a couple were like, no, it should be a static number. So that's how the two-house legislative body came about, to appease both people. Because the Senate is considered more elite, the requirements are a little bit more strict. You have to be 30 years old, you have to be a citizen of the United States for 9 years, because those 2 years make a huge difference, and you have to be a citizen, once again, of the state that you're representing. Each body has kind of different specific powers to go along with their general powers. Really, the most important ones that you need to know is that revenue bills have to begin in the House, and the Senate approves presidential appointments and treaties, and I will go more in detail about how a bill becomes a law and presidential appointments and things like that later. So even though I said that the Senate was the elite body of Congress, they're both really elite kind of in terms of they don't really represent the average American. 90% of them are male, and I guarantee you 90% of the US is not male. Most of them are well educated. That's not really an encouraging statistic at all, but yay us. Most of them are rich or come from rich backgrounds. Most of them are Protestant. White, male, and old is pretty much the standard for Congress. And everyone is going to be all like, oh, recently it's gotten better. And that's true, but pretty much white, male, and old is the rule of thumb for Congress. Almost half of them are lawyers, about 40%, which is pretty funny when you think about the fact that there's a billion jokes about how lawyers are the scum of the earth, and yet people vote for almost half of their representative body to be composed of lawyers. So you want to be represented in the government by the scum of the earth. Nice thinking there, I guess. I don't hate lawyers. I actually want to be a lawyer, but whatever. And one of our sources stated that 2 whole senators are Asian American, and my producer happens to be Asian American, and I'm sure she feels great that 2 out of 100 represent her ethnic interests. And actually, they didn't even really specify, she's Indonesian and Chinese, and those representatives could have been Korean or Japanese. So, diversity, not so much there. The other thing to know about Congress is that incumbents, or people who have already served a term and are running again, tend to win elections. Back when Congress first happened, people would serve one term and then just kind of be done with it. But now people run again and again and again and again and again. And if you're running again, you usually win again. So it's this whole never-ending cycle, I guess. Term limits, there are actually term limits. There's no limit on how many terms you can serve. So if you're a mortal or a vampire, have fun serving in Congress for forever. But there are limits on how long your terms can be. In the House of Representatives, the term is always only 2 years. So you're kind of always running. So I don't know how effective that's going to be. In the Senate, terms are actually 6 years, but election years are staggered. So every 2 years there's an election, and every 2 years 1/3 of the Senate rotates out to keep the Senate from staying the same, I guess, even though if it's composed of old people, their opinions don't really change. But it's nice that they're making an effort. Congress has 2 sets of powers. The first powers, called enumerated powers, are powers that are listed, which is what enumerated means, in the Constitution, listed in Article 1, Section 8, which is something I'm guessing you might want to know, maybe for an essay or something, hint, hint. There's a lot of different ways to say that Congress controls money. Congress has the power to collect taxes, duties, imports, excises, to borrow money. They establish rules for bankruptcy. They have the power to coin money. The power to regulate commerce, and things like that. But there's a whole bunch of other different powers that have nothing to do directly with money, such as the rules for naturalization, the standards of weights and measurements, the power to establish a post office and post roads, patents and copyrights, creating courts other than the Supreme Court, the power to support and establish army, navy, militia, and funnily enough, Congress defines and punishes piracies. So it's because of Congress that file sharing is considered piracy. Not that I have any knowledge of such a practice at all. Another random power of Congress is exclusive legislative powers over the District of Columbia. So in case you were ever sitting there, idly wondering one day, I wonder who has legislative powers over the District of Columbia, because I know that happens to me quite often. It's Congress. Now you know, and knowledge is power. There's also inferred powers, powers that the Constitution doesn't actually state, but Congress has fun with anyways. Those are because of the elastic clause, or the necessary and proper clause, which states that the government has the power to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers, and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States. Which means that if you need a new law to enforce some old laws, go ahead, have fun with that. So a nice, fun way to think about Congress is your parents, because Congress controls all the money and makes all the rules, and, at any point it decides it can make up new rules to enforce old rules, because that's fair.